So the Thursday night game on Week 11 will be Tennessee at Jacksonville. Might be a snooze fest, depending on how both teams end up. Then you have Oakland at Detroit. You have Indianapolis at Atlanta. New York at Houston. Giants at Texans. Then you have Tampa Bay at Philadelphia. Denver at Chicago. Green Bay at Minnesota. St. Louis at Baltimore. Dallas at Miami, a rematch of Super Bowl VI. Washington at Carolina. Then you have Cincinnati at Arizona. Then you're going to have San Francisco at Seattle. And the Sunday night game will be Kansas City at San Diego. Monday night, you have Buffalo at New England. So, Week 11, like I said, I preface it by saying that all this could change depending on how the season plays out. Looking at things right now, currently, Week 11 could be a snooze fest for football, unless you're just a fan of some certain these teams. But as far as big matchups, I really don't see any, to be honest with you. Even though I do think Chicago's gonna be bad this year, Denver versus Chicago could be a good game only because John Fox will be playing against his former team in Denver. And a lot of people feel like John Fox might have been wrongly fired. So outside the Broncos-Bears game, not too much going on in Week 11 that really excites. Like I said, that San Francisco-Seattle game, to me that rivalry's lost some of its legacy, especially with Harbaugh gone. For all the players the 49ers lost this offseason, I really don't see Simpson being that good this year at all. So to me, lose a lot with Leicester, and Week 11 does not really turn me on that much. All right, Week 12. Week 12, no teams are on bye. So Week 12, you have the Thanksgiving matchups. So the first Thanksgiving game, which will be on Fox, you have Philadelphia at Detroit. Then on the CBS game, we have Carolina at Dallas. And then on NBC, you have Chicago at Green Bay, where they'll be retiring Brett Favre's jersey that night, on Thanksgiving night in Lambeau Field. Now, I think all three matches have the potential to be great, except for maybe Chicago and Green Bay, because I don't think Chicago's going to be all that great this year. With that being said, I kind of have issue with the NFL for the second year in a row scheduling all NFC games on Thanksgiving. Like, for me personally, and maybe I'm in the minority in this, but I kind of enjoy seeing, like for example, I would have liked to see Dallas play an AFC team on Thanksgiving, instead of them playing Carolina. Nothing against Carolina, but I would like to see Dallas play, maybe New England on Thanksgiving or something like that. Now, to me, it just would have been a better match. I like seeing the AFC teams getting represented. But for the third year in a row, it'll be all NFC, so it is what it is. And Green Bay will be hosting their first Thanksgiving game since 1923. So then on Sunday, you have New Orleans at Houston, St. Louis at Cincinnati, Minnesota at Atlanta, the Giants at the Redskins, Tampa Bay at Indianapolis, Buffalo at Kansas City, Oakland at Houston, San Diego at Jacksonville, Miami at New York, Arizona at San Francisco, Pittsburgh at Seattle, which will be a rematch of Super Bowl 40, New England at Denver, which is a Sunday night game, and the Monday night game you have Baltimore at Cleveland. So obviously the matchup of week 12 will be New England at Denver. It could possibly be the last time we see Brady versus Manning in the regular season. And also too, I think that Buffalo Kansas City game could also shape to be huge too, as I think those two teams could be playing for possibly a wild card spot. So that game could be huge as well. Also, too, the Thanksgiving match is going to be pretty huge as well, too, because Philadelphia and Detroit, they could be vying for a playoff spot. Carolina, Dallas could be vying for a playoff spot. So, yeah, those could be some huge matchups. In Week 12. All right, so Week 13, here we go. So the matchups for Week 13, Thursday night game, you have Green Bay at Detroit, which will be a huge game. And how about Green Bay, Detroit playing back-to-back Thursday games? That's interesting. But you got Green Bay, Detroit playing on Thursday night, and then you have the battle on Sunday at the Battle of New York. You have the Jets at the Giants. It'll be a home game for the Giants. Then you have Arizona at St. Louis. You have Atlanta at Tampa Bay. You have Carolina at New Orleans. Seattle at Minnesota. Houston at Buffalo. Baltimore at Miami. Cincinnati at Cleveland. Jacksonville at Houston. San Francisco at Chicago. Denver at San Diego. Kansas City at Oakland. Then you have Philadelphia at New England, a rematch of Super Bowl 39. Then on Sunday night, you have Indianapolis at Pittsburgh. Monday night, you have Dallas at Washington. So the big matchups I see for Week 13, obviously, is the Thursday night game. Green Bay at Detroit, because I think that game could very well decide the division title. Then, of course, anytime you have the Giants and the Jets, that's huge. Battle of New York. I also think Philadelphia and New England could be a huge matchup, as I think Philadelphia will be a playoff team. New England, obviously, they're always in the running, so that could be an interesting matchup. And also, too, Indianapolis and Pittsburgh could also be a huge matchup as far as seeding in the AFC. Excuse me. So, Week 14. So Week 14, the Thursday night game, you have Minnesota at Arizona. Then you have Buffalo at Philadelphia. You have San Francisco at Cleveland. You have Detroit at St. Louis. You have New Orleans at Tampa Bay. You have the Titans at the Jets. You have Pittsburgh at Cincinnati. You got New England at Houston. You got Indianapolis at Jacksonville. You got San Diego at Kansas City. You have Washington at Chicago. You have Atlanta at Carolina. You have Oakland at Denver. You have Dallas at Green Bay. The Sunday night game, you have Seattle at Baltimore. And Monday night, you have New York at the Giants at the Dolphins. So to me, the key matchups for Week 14, there's a lot of them. The key matchups for Week 14, obviously, for me personally, will be Dallas and Green Bay. As a Cowboys fan, I'm still pissed off about last year in the playoffs. That was a catch. I don't care what anybody says in the NFL. It was a catch, and Dallas got screwed. To me, that would be an interesting game because Dallas will get a chance to get some type of revenge. It'll be a revenge game for the Cowboys. Hopefully, the game will be just as exciting as it was in the playoffs. And not only that, but this game will be played in Lambeau Field in the middle of December. So you know it's going to be cold, just like it was in the playoffs last year. So that should be a great game. Also, to the Sunday night game of Seattle at Baltimore, that could be a potential Super Bowl preview, as I expect both Seattle and Baltimore to be in the running. So that could be a potential Super Bowl preview in Seattle and Baltimore. All right, now we hit Week 15. So Week 15, you have the Thursday night game between Tampa Bay at St. Louis, and then you also have the Saturday game between the Jets and the Cowboys. So Thursday night, you have Tampa Bay at St. Louis, And then Saturday you have the Jets at the Cowboys. Then on Sunday you have Chicago at Minnesota, Atlanta at Jacksonville, Houston at Indianapolis, Arizona at Philadelphia, Carolina at New York, Tennessee at New England, Buffalo at Washington, a rematch of Super Bowl 26. You have Kansas City at Baltimore. You have Cleveland at Seattle. You have Green Bay at Oakland, a rematch of Super Bowl 2. You have Denver at Pittsburgh. You have Miami at San Diego. And in the Sunday night game, you have Cincinnati at San Francisco, a rematch of both Super Bowl 16 and 23. And then Monday night, you have Detroit at New Orleans. So the games I'll be looking forward to on Week 15, not really much, to be honest with you. I think Carolina and the Panthers-Giants game could be huge. I think both teams will be in the running for the playoffs. I think Panthers will get out to the win the South, but I think the Giants will be in there running for a wild card maybe. Another huge game will be Kansas City at Baltimore. Again, I think these are two teams that could be vying for either seeding or be vying for a wild card spot this late in the season. Those are the two games I'm looking forward to in Week 15. All right, Week 16. All right, Week 16. Now, Week 16, the Thursday night game, which will be on Christmas Eve. You have San Diego at Oakland. Then on Saturday, the day after Christmas, we have Washington at Philadelphia. Then on Sunday, the 27th, you have Patriots at the Jets, Houston at Tennessee, Cleveland at Kansas City, Indianapolis at Miami, Jacksonville at New Orleans, San Francisco at Detroit, Dallas at Buffalo, a rematch of Super Bowl 27 and 28. You have Chicago at Tampa Bay, Carolina at Atlanta, Giants at Vikings, St. Louis at Seattle, Green Bay at Arizona. Sunday night game will be Pittsburgh at Baltimore. And then the Monday night game, you have you have Cincinnati at Denver. So the matches I'm looking forward to seeing, on Week 16 are the Panthers-Falcons game. I think that game could decide the NFC South. I'm also looking forward to seeing Giants-Vikings. Again, that might have some wild card ramifications. And also, too, Packers-Cardinals. That game could also be either for wild card ramifications or playoff seeding, depending on where they're in the division. And, of course, you have Pittsburgh at Baltimore. I think that game right there will decide who wins the AFC North. So those are the key matches I'm looking forward to in Week 16. All right, last but not least, we had the Week 17. And so Week 17, as we all know, will be all divisional matchups. Week 17 of Jets at Bills. Rex Ryan getting a second crack at his former team. You got New England at Miami. You got Tampa Bay at Carolina. New Orleans at Atlanta. Baltimore at Cincinnati. Pittsburgh at Cleveland. Jacksonville at Houston, Tennessee at Indianapolis, Oakland at Kansas City, Washington at Dallas, Philadelphia at New York, Detroit at Chicago, Minnesota at Green Bay, San Diego at Denver, Seattle at Arizona, St. Louis and San Francisco. To me, the games I think will be pretty interesting. It's really hard to tell because, like I said, Week 17 is tricky only because you don't know how the season's going to play out, so it's hard to say which games will be significant, which games will not. But based on my, predictions, based on paper, It's really hard to